Welcome to this week's Thursday Night Live episode or edition of You've Been Through Too Much to Be Average, because you absolutely been through too much to be average. I'm glad to see you on here. I want to say atta boy, atta girl for being on here, achieving triumph through anything by becoming allergic to the average. So my hat's off to you, atta boy, atta girl. And we're going to jump right into it tonight. Your first love and how your first love has changed your life. That's the story or the topic we're delving into tonight on this week's episode of You've Been Through Too Much to Be Average. And so you definitely want to open yourself up, get your pad and your pen, get your journal, and let's jump into it. So your first love has changed your life. Hi, Michael. I realized that I've mentioned before how you can tell a lot about a person based on where they sleep in their bed, how they order food or order off of a menu, how they where they sit in an auditorium or a room full of people. You can tell a lot about people just by things that they do naturally in an everyday setting, candidly. What you can tell a lot about their perspective, their mindset, their mentality, pretty much their level of success. And you may think it's kind of trivial or that's kind of overthinking it, but it's true. There's actually studies out there. And then I do my own personal studies. You can tell a lot about people. So I want to say that you can tell a lot about yourself based on your relationship with your first love. And I don't mean your first love, the first person you ever loved, your high school sweetheart, or the person you grew up with, or even the person you're married to. That's what I'm talking about. When I talk about your first love tonight, I'm talking about the person who you love first, the person who is number one priority to you, and how that has changed your life. So not only can I want to extend a little bit further and say that, yes, you can tell a lot about a person by where they sleep in their bed, whether they sleep on the edge or they sleep in the middle, where they sit in an auditorium, how they order off a menu. But let me tell you this, you can tell a lot about a person, about their state of mind, their capacity to grow, their potential, what capacity they're operating in now, based on their first love. And like I said, I'm talking about who they love first, who is their first priority. As you all know, the first law of nature is the law of self-preservation, making sure that you're okay before you try to branch out and make sure anybody else is okay. And I know this can be hard for Christians. This can be hard for mothers. This can be hard for women. This can be hard for leaders to say that, I'm supposed to look out for somebody else first. No, you cannot look out for other people first if you're not first well. Okay, so your relationship with your first love says a lot about your life. It says a lot about where you're going. It says a lot about where you currently are. It says a lot about your potential for growth. And so you have to be able to put yourself first. Your first love should be you, the person you love first. And yes, some Christians might be tuning out right now. Some mothers might be tuning out right now. But it's reality. We've gone by cliches so much that, oh, you have to put your children first. Oh, you need to put your spouse first. That's what the Bible says. But in reality, if we really look at it and study and realize what's going on there, you realize that it's impossible to put others first and be able to serve them at the level of excellence and quality that you should and could be able to. Hi, Lewis. And so what you want to do is make sure that your first love is you. You love yourself first. I'm not talking about the first love in your past. Well, I am, because in the past, a lot of people have not made themselves their first love. So just want to take you back to a quick story. When I was my daughter, which is our first child, was a few months old. It was our first child, and she was just a few months old. And so I actually had just gotten back into being comfortable enough to go out in public as far as my physical appearance, having not lost all the weight yet, not feeling comfortable in a lot of my old clothing, and just being open in the public to people, being able to manage my child as well as my own self in public. So it was something different for me. But when I got out, I don't know if I was looking stressed or I said I was stressed or whatever. And let me pause right now, because a lot of people don't watch videos all the way to the end, or they go back and come. Please like and share this video for me. I need you to like this, share it on your page, share it with your friends, and like it. So kudos and attaboy, attagirl for those people who have already liked it. I greatly appreciate it. But so I was out in public for the first time at Longhorns, a steakhouse, right, with my family, my husband, my mom, my daughter, my baby daughter, and some other relatives. So we were out in our after church meal, and we saw a lady that I used to work with. This the other lady. She's probably one of those characters that would have the word mom, and so I would call her Mama Wilson. So hey, Zedra. And so when I saw Mama Wilson out, I don't know how the conversation came up. I don't know if I was looking stressed or what, but I was just telling her about, being a new mom. And she was talking about, having two kids of her own, and they're already grown and gone, as well as being kind of the mother figure that has mothered many people as a school teacher and as, as just that mother type figure. She said, yeah, I know it's hard, and I know it's, you lose sleep and you're stressed and that kind of thing. She said, but sometimes you have to get away. You gotta go. You gotta get yourself some rest. You have to take care of yourself. Okay. She said, I don't care what people say. I don't care. And she said, you have to get away. All right. And she said, even if you have to go and check into a hotel room to get yourself some rest, to get yourself a few hours of quality rest. Okay. And so, saying that, a lot of people would feel like, oh, especially when you have a new baby, you have a new child, or you have children at all that depend on you. This is hard for a lot of women and a lot of mothers to say that you have to put yourself first. You have to put yourself first so that you can be able to be of quality when it comes to the people you serve, including your children, your spouse, the people on your job, the people who you lead, the people who look to you for inspiration, who look to you for love and for care. So she said to me, she said, sometimes if you just got to go away and check into a hotel room, you maybe need to do that sometimes so that you can make sure that you're okay. All right. And not a lot of people give that type of advice, especially to new mothers. But now I value it and I understand exactly where she was coming from. Now, being the mother of two, they're only 2 years apart. And understanding the power of your own physical and mental, spiritual well-being when you serve other people. When other people depend on you, you have to make sure that you're up to par. And a lot of times we have that twisted. We believe that because other people depend on you, you cannot give in, you cannot give out, you cannot rest, you cannot. It's always about the other person. But if you do that, I'm sure you heard the cliche or the proverb that hurt people, right? Well, let me add this. Tired people hurt people. Burned out people hurt people. Neglected people hurt people. Okay, sometimes it's something like an accident because you're tired and you should not be driving, or you should not be cooking, you should not be doing XYZ. Hi, Wendy. Or sometimes it's the fact that you snap at people, you're emotional at people. Okay, I want to tell you another story. Actually, when my first year of teaching, I was able to go on this field trip. We had to go out and do like some professional development, and I ended up riding with a bunch of other teachers. They were mostly English teachers, but nevertheless, I don't know why or how I ended up going, but I went. Okay, and so in the car was my ninth grade English teacher, Miss Flanagan. And Miss Flanagan told this story, and she said, you're young and you're attractive and you dress nice, and I like your shoes, I like your heels. And she was like, I used to do that, I used to wear that, but of course, getting older, having weight and that kind of stuff, I don't do it that much anymore. She was like, as a matter of fact, I tried it recently. She said she had been out of heels for a while. She said, I tried it recently, and I was out at work, and this lady, or I was out somewhere, and she said I ended up being very mean to this lady. And she said I knew it was because of those shoes, because my feet were hurting. I knew I shouldn't have had them on. I had them on too long. And that was the funniest story to me, because she's a funny character anyway. But Miss Flanagan said I knew that I was mean to that lady because of those shoes. And think about it. A lot of times when we were actually in Paris, France, in Versailles, in the castle, and the tour guide talked about, they were showing pictures of all the old kings, and some of in some of the rooms there are kings and stuff, and the men had on high heels, and he made the comment that, wouldn't you know that men created high heels? They're very painful. They're supposed to be so attractive and make you more attractive, but it's for men. Really, they were created for men, but now we use it to please men aesthetically, to make your body more attractive, or you look a certain way with heels. But the men, it's appealing to them, but they don't think about the pain that a lot of times is associated with that. And so Miss Flanagan was saying, hey, I put these heels on for somebody else to look professional, to look a certain way, but it caused me to harm somebody, to lash out at somebody, or go off on somebody. And she said, I knew it was because my feet were hurting. Just like you see the Snickers commercials when they make up the word hangry, where you're hungry, you're angry because you're hungry, right? And so when you neglect yourself, I'll add to it. Yes, you've heard the cliche before that hurt people, but tired people hurt people too. And sometimes it's not just physical hurt, as in, you cut something or dropped something because you were not focused or you got into an accident. But sometimes it's spiritual and it's emotional that you hurt people. You don't give them the time and the attention that they need, or the way you respond to something should and could be very much better if you were much better if you were in your right mental capacities, because you had not neglected your own rest, your own food, your own personal care. And so the neglected people hurt people, just like hurt people hurt people. And neglected people is when you don't make yourself your first love. And like I said, a lot of Christians right now might be saying you're not supposed to, be I'm not saying overindulging yourself, but when you're on the plane, okay, they always tell you, in the event that we lose cabin pressure and you need the oxygen mask, make sure, they stress and re-stress and re-emphasize, you put on your mask first. Because if you're trying to help your baby and you fall out, okay, in the process of you trying to help your baby, then you're out, and then sooner or later the baby will probably be out as well. But if you put yours on first, then at least you have a chance to say, I'm going to make it long enough to get my babies on, or the person next to me. But many times, and why do we do that? I'll go to it in a minute, but many people have the wrong first loves. You hear people say, I'm married to the streets, I'm married to the game, I'm married to the money, I'm married to my craft, I'm so in love with it, right? I'm married to the Lord, and this kind of thing. And we have the wrong first loves. Your first love has to be you. And I talk a lot about universal principles that stand in true, and they're tried and true, and they yield the right results when you mix the right variables, no matter what religion you are, no matter what sex you are, no matter what class you come from. And one of these principles, okay, the first law of nature is the law of self-preservation. If you're going to be able to do anything in the future, you have to make sure that you actually last to the future, right? And so here's a few reasons why people have the wrong first love. They're not first married and dedicated and committed to themselves, okay? One is because it feels the need to be needed, okay? It feels that need to be needed or important. This is where people's self-esteem comes in. And this might catch a lot of people off guard. About this in a business communication book earlier this week, and it rattled something with me, and it actually made a connection to what I'm talking about now. It talked about how many times, you're in a conversation, or you're talking with somebody, or you're supposed to be listening to them, and in the midst of that, you actually you can't stop checking your emails and checking your phone and updating this and updating that. You won't delegate things. You won't let things sit or wait for you to come and command them, because it makes you feel important that you have to get away. It makes you feel important that while you're talking to this person, somebody else actually wants to talk to you. While you're talking to this person or listening to this person, somebody else actually needs your attention. It makes you feel important. It creates that false sense of importance. And because of that false sense of importance, all right, people neglect themselves. People do not give themselves the time that they need while they're supposed to be on vacation. Okay, in this business communication book, it was talking about actually making sure that you have your off time is truly off time. That when you're with your family, when you're in your off hours, when you're on vacation, when you're working on another project, you should be turned off to certain things. But when we put ourselves like, oh, my phone has to be on, I have to keep checking my emails, that makes you seem important. Like, hey, listen, I'm the only person who can do that. Not only is it inefficient, but it's a lie, because I heard somebody say this, I'm sure you've heard it. If you die tomorrow, if you pass away tomorrow, they'll have somebody to fill your position pretty soon, okay? Let's say if you even own your own business, there are other competitors. There may be even somebody in your job that'll step up and take the reins, okay? So it's not only inefficient when you don't make yourself your first love, because you when you're supposed to have your own time of restoration, your own time of rest, and your body should be in repair, your mind should be in repair, you should be in worship, you should be in meditation, and every little thing can pull you, and you say, well, I have to have my phone on because they need me, I have to have this. That's saying that, one, you're inefficient, and two, that you feel you have something within you that feels the need to be important, or to feel like you're needed. Hey, Tommy. And so it's a lie. That's one reason that people have the wrong first loves, when they don't love themselves first as their first priority, is because it's a misplaced, or a misplaced, mislabeled need for validation, to say that you're that important that you cannot have your off time. Your off time is never your off time. You're always answering calls. It's foolishness, guys. And not only are you burning yourself out, and burnout people hurt people. Not just hurt people, burn out people hurt people. Okay, you lash out at people. You don't give things and people the attention that they deserve and that they need to be okay and to get what it is that God has given you to give to the world. Whatever God has given you to give to the world, you're not giving it at the right caliber because you're too busy trying to make yourself, convince yourself and yourself only as well. First, you're convincing yourself first and then others that you're so important you can't unplug. And so that's number one. The number one reason why people don't make their first love themselves. Okay. The second reason is we have misinformation. We have misunderstanding about what it means to be sacrificial and selfless. Okay. We're so busy trying not to be selfish or self-centered. Okay. Then that we actually, we believe that it's Christian. We believe that it's the holy thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's the conscientious thing to do, to put others and everything else before ourselves. And while you're falling into shambles, not only are your gifts, being delivered at substandard and below average capacities, but you're also causing other people's lives and other people who depend on you and who are connecting you to fall into shambles. Even though you might not see it directly, even though it might not happen immediately, but nevertheless, you are allowing, because you feel like you're being selfish or you're not being selfless the way that the Christian walk should be. That's a misunderstanding as to a second reason why people don't make themselves their first loves, because we believe, it's all about sacrifice. You have to put your other people's needs before yours. Your first love should be yourself, because you cannot serve other people when you are the person that's falling apart. Okay, hurt people. Neglected people hurt people. And neglected, I'm not talking about your spouse or somebody else neglecting you. I'm talking about you neglecting yourself. If you don't look out for yourself, who else will? If nobody else looks out for you, if you have issues with your parents, if your spouse is not, your children, the default should be that you're going to look out for you. Okay, the default. And a lot of times we fail to realize that though Jesus was the epitome of sacrifice, of putting others before himself, right? He still pulled away. There were times when he pulled away just to pray to himself. There was times where you see, especially like on the walking on water and the calming of the waves story. It talks about they found that he was asleep. Everybody else was up. He was asleep. He was resting. He knew the caliber of man he was and what gift he carried for the world and how he needed to be effective. So he was a man on earth so that he could be constrained by physical human needs. And so he needed sleep, he needed food, he needed time away to heal or to feel his soul. And so he pulled away to pray. He solaced himself. He asked for what he needed from the Father. He took time for himself. So a lot of times we misconstrue things and believe that we are serving God by not serving ourselves, when in reality you're not being a good steward over yourself. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. But the second reason why people have the wrong first love, when your first love is killing you, because you're neglecting your first love. You should be your first love. Okay. Yes, there are some people cracking up right now saying this is, this might be kind of pompous or arrogant, self-centered, but in reality, if you really study and truly know the principles, the laws of God, and you understand the nature of God, the higher calling, the universe, you realize that you cannot be quality, you cannot be excellent if you are neglecting yourself. If you are not your first love, then something's wrong. Everything else is out of order. You have to make sure, okay, that you are not in love with yourself, but you love yourself. That you love yourself, and it shows physically. It shows in the spiritual time you put in. It shows in the mental, emotional time that you put in, as far as rest, recuperation, feeding yourself positive words, feeding yourself, being around positive people. You must be your first love if you're going to serve anybody else at any other capacity. Before you can go outside of yourself, you have to first be whole within yourself. Let me say that again. Before you can serve outside of yourself, okay, you have to first go from within and make sure that's solid, because you cannot give away what you don't have. All right, that's when a lot of families break down and a lot of cyclical and generational things go on, because you cannot give with that what you don't have. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard, how much you want to do it, you cannot give what you don't have. So your first love should be yourself. The third reason why people are married to or have the wrong first loves, and they're married to the church, and they're married to the work, and they're married to the game, they're married to the money. The third reason is because we have a misunderstanding of self-care and self-love. Okay, not being selfish. Okay, but in not being selfless. Because when you take yourself, when you are without self, how can you serve anybody? Because that means you're outside of yourself. You're not even grounded in yourself. I heard somebody say it this way. I heard a person who was at a seminar I was teaching said that, well, as a matter of fact, it was warrior camp, what teaches you to be a warrior. And the way of the warrior is to conquer yourself in order to serve others. The definition of a warrior, a person who has conquered him or herself in order to serve others. Okay, and he said, listen, a lot of times people get all twisted up in the brain. They're torn here, they're torn there, and they're not emotionally and spiritually sound because they fight and they war between being self-centered. Okay, they neglect themselves because they don't want to be self-centered. But he said this and it made a lot of sense, and I'm going to let it sink in for you. He says the aim, okay, is not to be self-centered, but to be centered in self. Okay, no, you don't want to be self-centered where it's all about you, but you need to be centered within yourself, meaning all responsibility, all accountability, everything starts with you. It starts with you being a whole person. It starts with you addressing all your needs and issues before you go out and try to do anything to influence anybody else. And and you say, well, my children are already here, they already depend on me. Yes, that's the main reason why you need to return to your real first love, which is yourself. Your first love is to make sure that you're okay. Okay, because once again, you've heard it before, hurt people. Okay, and so making sure that you understand that there's a difference between being proud and being prideful. Okay, I'm sure you probably have heard one of these old folk sayings that says that it's a poor frog that won't praise his own pun. Okay, and I say that a lot in a lot of the things that I teach, and I say that when I put things on social media, I'm the first person to hit the love button. Okay, because if it came out of me and I don't totally love it, then it definitely isn't quality for you. Okay, if it came out of me, and I'm not talking about like it or I think it's okay, or if I actually put it up for publication for the public to see, and I don't absolutely love it, what business do I have giving it to you? Okay, if I don't love whatever content I put up, why would I give it to you? So I'm the first person to hit the love button. Sometimes I put things up and I'm on the go, and I have to make sure that I go back and hit the love button, and hopefully I'm the first person that does it. But it says that my first love is here. Okay, that in order for me to be quality in service, I have to make sure that I am okay here first. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'll give you permission in a minute to make yourself your first love, to make yourself priority, and you don't have to worry about violating Christian principles. Hi Cornell, you don't have to worry about violating the motherhood law, or wife them, or whatever it is, because actually it's imperative, it's paramount. And I'm going to take a hydration break, but it's paramount that your first love is you, or else you won't ever be well enough to serve people. Okay, not in the way that you should be serving them. Yes, you might throw together something, okay, but just like tired people burn up food, they cut things, they cut themselves, sometimes they cause accidents. Tired people burn out people, neglected people who are in a bad emotional headspace, okay, just walking around zombies. That's when you make other things your first love. Whatever your passion is, your gifting, your talent, your God, okay? That's when you do that, okay? Then of course you're putting yourself in a state where you can harm more people than you're hurting. And so, hi Trenton, your first love has to be you, so that you can be at a caliber where you can actually serve people at the level that they deserve to be served, and at the level that God gifted you to serve. So I've said a mouthful. Let me take a hydration break. Let that sink in. Let it sink in. You must be your first love. Your first love has been killing you. I'm not talking about the first person you fell in love with. I'm talking about the first person who gets priority in your love life. The first person that you love on should be you. And because you have not been doing that, other things have been suffering. All right, thank you all for that hydration break. Please like this video and share this video. Okay, I need you all to like it and share it. All right, and so I gave you 3 reasons why people have the wrong first loves, why people don't love themselves first and foremost before they try to go out and serve and love anybody else, including their kids, their spouse, their church members, the lost, whoever it is that you lead and influence. 3 reasons. I'm going to recap them real quick. The first reason is you have this false sense of needing to, you feel important. You feel like, you know, the world can't stop without you. So you never have your alone time. Phones are always on. You're always checking emails. You never have a true vacation. You never have true downtime because you feel you need to feel important. Okay. And check yourself on that. You're needing to, that's a false sense of importance. Okay. It builds your self-esteem, but it's a lie. It's a trick. It's a distraction to break you down, to wear you down so that you cannot do exactly what you were put here to do. The second reason is we have misinformation about what sacrifice and selflessness is about. We always refer to God and to Jesus and, you know, mothers and that kind of stuff, but really Jesus took time to pull away from himself. Jesus took time to separate himself. Jesus took time to rest. They had to go and wake him up on occasions. Jesus, and listen, Daniel he was fasting, okay? But he didn't necessarily stop eating. What he did was took the time to choose what he wanted to eat, to be selective about what he put into his body, and let the people who were over him know that. So it wasn't about him not necessarily eating, but he loved himself enough to say, hey, listen, first of all, I'm on a different level than other people, so I have to carry myself differently. I have to guard my space. And so Daniel, on his fast, he didn't not eat. He said, listen, I'm going to be very selective about what I eat. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you to give me something special to eat. Not that you got to go out and do extra, but just take away some things. So his first love was taking care of himself, spirit, not just physically, because he was like, yeah, it's a lot of garbage and stuff that I don't want to ruin my body with, but also spiritually, so that he could hear from God and be at a level of maximum capacity. So when you are not taking the time, the energy, the money that you need to maintain yourself physically, to maintain yourself emotionally, mentally, professionally, whatever it is that you need, you should always be growing. You should always get enough time of rest so that your body can repair and can grow, and that your body can be restored. When you don't do that kind of stuff, okay, you're not just disservicing yourself, but you're taking time and service away from the people who depend on you, including your children. And it's ironic because you're saying that you're not getting enough sleep because of your children. You're not, taking care of your physical needs and buying things that you need because of your children or because of the people at the church. When in reality, you're doing them more of a disservice because your first love is not you. And the first law of nature is the law of self-preservation. You got to make sure that you're okay. That's why they go over it again and again and again on the plane. If we lose cabin pressure, if you need the oxygen mask, be sure, because they know sometimes it's second nature for a mother to want to put that mask on her child. For if you're there with an elderly parent, or even if you're just a helpful person, you want to help the person next to you first. But if in the event that you're trying to do that and you pass out, now they can't get help and you can't get help either, and nobody else can ever get help from you again. Okay, and so your first love has to be you, okay? And your first love, I'm not saying be in love with yourself, but you have to love yourself and make sure that you are priority to receive your first dose of love, the love that you have, because you cannot go out and serve other people externally when on the inside you're not okay, all right? So just to give you permission, especially those people who are Christians and are probably frowning up right now and may have stopped watching, okay, tell your friend to come back on, but permission, okay, to make yourself your first love, okay? Proverbs 4:23 says, keep your heart with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of life. That's telling me that you have to first guard yourself. Listen, nobody on this planet has an obligation to love you, to take care of you, to make sure that you're okay, but you, because that's actually stewardship. If God gives you something, he wants you to be a good steward. And so he gave you to you, all right? Even if you've been married, even if you're a child and you have a mother and father, your first love should be yourself, okay? To be a good steward, all right? So Proverbs 4:23 says, keep your heart, because keep it diligently. Make sure that you are very careful with your heart, because out of it are the issues of life. Telling you basically, that is the the control system, the control station for your life. If your heart is not okay, you're not going to be okay serving other people. What you dish out to people is going to be vile. It's going to be contaminated. And so all this stuff about, I have to serve God's people first, and I have to serve my husband and my wife and my children first. The Bible says, keep your heart very diligently. Be very diligent keeping it. Be very careful, be very thorough, be very intentional about it, because out of it flows the issues of your life. It controls everything else in your life. Okay, now that's the emotional and the spiritual part of it, but I'm talking about physically as well. You're not eating correctly. You're not getting the right amount of sleep. You're not de-stressing and detoxing and pulling away to meditate and to reflect and to pray and just have peace of mind. It is no wonder that you're snapping at people. It's no wonder that you're putting out a substandard product, okay, whatever that is. And so permission to do it is Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of life. Okay, the Bible didn't say you shouldn't love yourself. It says you shouldn't love your life, your lifestyle, the way you do things, wherein if God asks you to do something, to change up something, to do a different flavor, that you're upset about it. That's loving your life. The Bible didn't say don't love yourself. The Bible tells you to be a good steward, that God wants you to be faithful in stewardship. Okay, the first thing you were given was yourself, your body, your mind. That's the first gift you're ever given in life. Okay, that's truly yours. As a matter of fact, that's the only thing we truly have control over is ourselves. All right, and so be a good steward, basically. Hey, Henry, be a good steward of yourself first, and that when you become your first love, you're at a higher level where you can serve other people. But a lot of times we're spewing garbage, we're spewing vile, contaminated stuff, and whatever gift we were supposed to be gifting to the world, whether you're a songstress, whether you're a leader, whether you're a writer, whether you're a cosmetologist, whether you are a teacher, whether you're a mechanic, whatever you do, okay, whether you're an event planner, whatever you do, when you are not your first love, you're not your first priority, you're not okay mentally, spiritually, physically, okay, everything that you're dishing out is contaminated, okay, it's not at its best. And so when you are not your first love, it shows, okay, that the level that you're operating at is compromised. The gifts that you're sharing with the world, compromised when you're not your first love. Because hey, listen, I added my own little twist to this. You heard before that hurt people, but I added neglected people hurt people, tired people hurt people, burned out people hurt people. So you have to make sure that you don't fall into any of those categories, okay? I'm giving you permission because the most popular book in the whole world, the best-selling book of all times, the wisdom of God, which is the Bible, says in Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of your life. Your life is control. It's the control center. So make sure you keep it. All right. Another permission to make sure that you're your first love, that you're your first priority. Okay, not your only priority, not even your biggest priority, but you're your first priority. You have to be okay in order to do what you do in the world for other people, including your children, including your co-workers or your boss, or your clients, your customers. Excuse me, hydration break. So I want to take this time to revisit a short, about 10-12 minute live posting that I did a couple months ago. As a matter of fact, it was the second Sunday in February. I know it because that's when we had our monthly church dinner. And so it was just heavy on me, and I pulled into the office at the church, the catering office, and I actually did Cleophas, and I did the a live on time does not heal all wounds. So I'm going to revisit there a minute and see and show you how it plays into this tonight's episode of You've Been Through Too Much to Be Average. Tonight we're talking about your first love has changed your life. When you don't make yourself your first love, your first priority. Okay, and so I did a live broadcast a few weeks ago, and it says time does not heal all wounds. Many times, because we feel like we have to keep going, people depend on us. We don't have time to actually heal. We don't want to be soft. We don't want to be compromised. We don't want to have to depend on other people or slow down things. So we don't take the time to heal. That goes back to not putting yourself first. You're not your first love. It's all about your kids. It's all about your spouse. It's all about your church. It's all about your clients, or whoever it is you serve. And so you instead of taking the time that you need to heal, you just chalk it off as this cliche that time heals all wounds. That's not true. That's not a universal principle. That's not God. It's time does not heal all wounds. You have to take the time and the other needed variables to heal all wounds. And when you don't take the time to heal, okay, when you think that time heals all wounds, you're not making yourself priority. You're not your first love, and it shows up in what you do, because hurt people, burnout people, tired people, neglected people, wounded people, hurt people. So time does not heal all wounds. Okay, as a matter of fact, And I love being around intellectual people who challenge me. And I talk to you all the time about finding different friends in different rooms, people who are above you. And so I remember having a conversation with a friend because there's a certain time, and I'm still on this, but at one point in time, I was doing this thing called crushing cliches. A lot of cliches that we use, even in churches, okay, they have no principle behind them. They're just things that you've heard so much that it has become habit, and people repeat it and they don't even know or understand what they're saying. And you know, I talk a lot about the power of language and the law of attraction. We say things and we don't realize what we're putting into the environment and the universe to manifest for us. So I told him, I said, somebody said time heals all wounds. I think we were at a funeral or something like that, and we were both ministers. And so somebody said something about time heals all wounds, and I was like, that's not true. And he said, yes it is. I said, well, tell me in the word where it's backed up. And he says, the Bible says that in I forgot what song it says, that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning, right? He says that translates into time heals all wounds. And I love to look at things on a different angle, and to do research and look at things, beyond surface value, and dissect it with the meaning of certain things. And so I said, so that translates the fact that the scripture says that, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Yes, there's a time lapse from morning to night, from night to morning. And he said that translates into time heals all wounds. No, because, and the reason that's not true, okay, because you're telling me, and I did this on the other podcast, you tell me if a person gets shot, okay, in a major organ, or a person gets stabbed, or a person gets, a leg or something amputated, or there's a major, I'm not talking about a paper cut, I'm talking about somebody really gets stabbed or gets shot or falls off somewhere. You tell me if you just let them be and just let them stay there, that eventually they'll go back to being whole. That's not true. Okay, there are some things such as paper cuts or little nicks, little sores, little sprains and that kind of stuff. Okay, that just time, rest time, okay, we'll do that. But that's not true, because in that scripture it talks about weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Okay, joy, okay, means that it comes from another source that is more than time there. Okay, because joy means that you have some other things. Joy is different from happiness. Okay, joy has a source of other things tied to it that causes you to have joy. And so, yes, from night to morning is time, but it doesn't say, it says joy will come in the morning, which means it's tied to some other stuff over there. I don't want to get too deep, and I don't know if I'm losing people, but just sitting somewhere letting time pass does not heal wounds. It takes medication sometimes. It takes surgery sometimes. It takes amputation sometimes. It takes readjoining things sometimes. It takes rest and all types of other things. But time does not heal all wounds, and that's why I'm telling you, you have to make yourself priority one. Your first love should be you, because you cannot. Okay, when you pass out trying to put on your baby's gas mask, that's the last person you'll ever help, if you actually get a chance to fully help that person put on their oxygen mask in the airplane or wherever it is. Your first priority. And so time does not heal all wounds. You have to take rest. You have to apply attention to it. You have to be intentional about going to get that medication, going to get that surgery. And I'm not this is an analogy here. So whatever it needs, whatever wound it is, if it's an emotional wound where somebody hurt you, or you hurt yourself, or you feel disappointed about something in life or something that happened, time does not heal all wounds. Sometimes you have to go and seek a professional counselor. As a matter of fact, the name of the live that I did was time does not heal all wounds, but God does with all of his resources. So sometimes it's not that, God is just going to magically make something happen. Sometimes he has a resource in line for you, like a doctor or a counselor or a friend or a confidant or somebody who can help you with those wounds. But time does not heal all wounds, but God will. And so that's another part of tonight. Going back to your first love, making your first love you first. Okay, it's not selfishness, but it's backing away from selflessness. You cannot be selfless and lose yourself. Okay, you cannot be selfless. All right, because first of all, whatever God gives you, you have to be a good steward over, and the only thing you're really truly given is yourself. Okay, your mind, your body, your soul. And so you have to make sure that you take care of that, as Proverbs 4:23 says. Okay, keep your heart with all diligence, all meaning your priority one. Everything first has to be okay with you, because out of it are the issues of life. The heart being the center, the heart being the control station. All right, the heart of the matter. So you have to be okay before you can be a good mother. You have to be okay before you can be a good wife or husband. You have to be okay before you can be a good leader outside of your home. You have to be okay before you can be a good servant, serving other people in the community or in the church or in the world or whatever, wherever it is. You have to be okay. Okay. And so don't get caught up in this, this erroneous information that you have to sacrifice yourself. Okay. Sacrificial doesn't mean sacrificing yourself all the time. It means that, when it's time to make sacrifice, you do make sacrifice, and you do give up things that you may desire and things, but the things that you need, it's a need, it's a necessity, it's something you have to take care of in order for you to be okay, in order that whoever you come in contact with, you're not spewing all this vile, contaminated garbage on them, because you're not at the level that you should be. And that's it. I always give some directives, because I definitely want this to be self-help and not shelf-help. So please like and share the video. I say that occasionally through the video because I want you to get this information, and I want you to go back and revisit it. I also want you to share it with people that you want to see at the top, because the name of this every Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. is called "You've Been Through Too Much to Be Average." And so I don't want average things, the things that average people don't look into deep enough or don't understand, or they just kind of carouse over it and they never get really meat out of it. They take what life has given them, and that's what trips them up and keeps them average or below average. I don't want you to get caught up in that. So you're on here every Thursday night for a reason at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So I want you to make sure that this is self-help and not shelf-help. What do I mean by shelf-help? You get a book, you get a course, you buy content, and you put it on the shelf. And instead of helping you, okay, it helps the shelf, which we know what that means. Really nothing. It just kind of sits there. It helps the person who you purchased it from, okay? It may help the shelf to stay afloat and feel like the shelf, on your bookshelf is doing some work, but it doesn't help you because you do nothing with the information. So I always aim to give you directives, actual, true, tangible, actionable things that you need to do when you get off this particular live session or podcast. And so tonight it has three to five parts, but it's only one thing. Okay, it's kind of a list of 3 to 5 things. I think you should do 5, but some people, because of your mindset of self-neglect, and you have not put enough time in yourself and thought enough of yourself in the past, you actually, this may be hard for you to come up with 5 things, but I want you to come up with 3 to 5 things. I suggest that you do 5, but it may be hard for some people. I don't want you to get discouraged, so you do 3. Between 3 and 5 things, okay, that are quantifiable, meaning you can actually measure them. Okay, if you say, we talked about SMART goals before. Don't say you want to lose weight. Okay, say you want to lose 5 pounds by 3 months from now, or by June 1st. Okay, so it has to be quantifiable, something you can measure, something with some numbers to it. Okay, 3 immediate, meaning you need to start on them tonight. Okay, or today, whenever you watch this live podcast. Okay, so 3 to 5 quantifiable, meaning there are some numbers that can be measured. Immediate actions that you can do to bring yourself back to being your first love. Something you've been neglecting about yourself, whether it's getting enough sleep, whether it's going to get a pedicure, manicure, whether it's going to the doctor because you just feel like you don't have the time. As a matter of fact, I heard a rapper say, we don't have time to go see doctors, right? Your life is so fast. You're so busy, as they say, chasing. And I always talk about the power of language. You shouldn't be chasing dreams. You should be chasing money, because chasing infers that it's running away from you. Yes, you should be pursuing your dreams and pursuing higher levels in what you do, but never should you be chasing it. Okay, chasing a person, okay, chasing God, no, because God is not running away from you. You don't have to chase him. All right, dogs chase you. All right, you're trying to get away from that dog. Animals chase you. You should not be chasing. And so, but you're so busy pursuing, or let me say this, it has been chasing you. You have been chasing it because you have not done what you need to do internally to flourish externally. And so 3 to 5 things that you need to do immediately, starting tonight, and that's quantifiable, that will help you make sure that you are your first love, so that all your other loves and passions, you are doing them at a quality level. You're doing them at an excellent level. You're doing them at a better than average, allergic to the average level, because you started with you, okay? Because you I heard some. Actually, I didn't hear this actually in the Bible. It says that if the first fruit be the holy, then the lump will be holy. If it starts out with you, and everything you do starts out with you, right? Everything you do starts out with your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, right? I heard one of my mentors says your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions lead to results. The TFAR principle. Your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions really lead to results. And what controls your thoughts? We started with the T, but what comes before the T? Okay? External stimuli, what you're listening to, who you're around, the music you listen to, the books you read, the what you watch on TV, what you watch on the internet, the people you listen to in real life. Okay? And so all that external stimuli controls your thoughts, then your feelings, your actions, your results. So basically, all that TFAR principle, thoughts, feelings, action, results, is all of that is you. All that together is you. So if the first fruit is holy, then the lump will be holy. Okay? If you're okay, then everything you touch and everybody you service will be okay, or better than okay. Okay, better than average, allergic to the average. So you have to make yourself your first love. Okay, permission to do that is Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of life. Okay, make sure that the people who count on you, they're not doing it in vain. Okay, because you can get so caught up in trying to serve other people that you disserve them. You infect them instead of affecting them positively. You infect them, you destroy them, you damage them. As the Bible says again, you cause them to stumble because you were not on your A game. You were not on point when you came and tried to deliver something to them. And that's as a result of not making yourself your first love. And it's not your fault. We have much misinformation out there, okay, from people not thanks, Trenton, from people not understanding the Bible or whatever religious doctrine that they teach from, all the way to people, just feeling the need to share things and they haven't studied enough, or it's several reasons. I gave you several reasons that people are married or have the wrong first love. They're married to the game. They're married to their spouse. And I know it's literal marriage, but they're so committed to being everything to everybody else that you become horrible to everybody else, because everything is watered down, everything is compromised, because within yourself you're not who you should be. You're not who you could be, who God has called you to be. He gave us all these resources to take care of ourselves, our souls, which is our mind, our will, our emotions, our bodies. Okay, we have all these resources. Not eating right, okay? That's right, Trenton. In a nutshell, it's the blind leading the blind. You're trying to help other people, but really, you may be a little bit better off than them, but really, in reality, you guys are going in the same direction. You may just be taking them there a little slower than they were going themselves, okay? Because, like I said, you've heard this before, hurt people. But I added to that, neglected people hurt people. Tired people hurt people. Burned out, confused, angry, frustrated people hurt people. Why? Because you see the Snickers commercials. You're hangry. You're angry because you're hungry. All right? You are mean to people. You are short with people. You're not you're not singing that song the way it should be sung. You're not cutting that person's hair or designing that whatever, because you are not whole. And so you're really just trying to get through things. And here you are trying to help other people get through things when you're not even in the way. And I do believe in what that scenario of what I coined this some years back, being able to feed while you're fasting, okay? And that's occasional. You don't fast all the time, okay? You fast when you're trying to get to a certain level. You're trying to clean something out, get some clarity. But just going without food or going without whatever you're fasting from because you just haven't taken the time to do what you need to do, okay? Not to even on your lunch hour when you should just be relaxing, enjoying your food, taking it in, and just focusing on your food. And you guys know my theme for this year: focusing on one thing at a time, doing one thing at a time exceptionally well. One thing at a time. I want to do more than one thing this year, but I want to do one thing at a time. Hi, Donnie. Exceptionally well. A lot of times, because you are not your first love and you're so busy trying to please and tend to people else, you don't even enjoy your meals. Okay. I'm speaking to myself. There are times that because I'm used to eating on the go, I'm used to having a very full plate as in my schedule, my life. Even when I have time to sit down, when I'm on a vacation or when I'm on at a meal time with people, everybody else is still eating, they're like, you're done. It's because I'm used to eating things, and like I said, I'm talking to myself right now. You don't even focus on what's at hand. You're not present. And I've done live podcasts before on being present. You're not present because you're so busy trying to problem solve. You're so busy trying to troubleshoot, trying to make yourself tell yourself that you're important, as well as show other people in the world that you're important, because you don't, they always have access to you because they need you that much. No, if you die today, they're going to have you replaced soon and very soon, okay? They don't need you that much. You need you, okay? You need you. And then the people who absolutely count on you, like your children, they need you. They need you to be your first love. They need you to be whole. They need you to be sane. They need you to be well, okay? You need you to be whole, sane, and well. God in the universe needs you to be whole, sane, and well, so that they get a great return on their investment. Because God has put something in you to share with the world. And when you're half sharing it, because you're half a person, okay, or a third of a person, or a quarter of a person, okay, it's a disservice, and it's a lie. It's a distraction. It's a trick to make sure that all the people that you're supposed to influence and impact in this lifetime, that it never happens, because you're doing things shoddily, okay? You're doing shoddy jobs. You're doing horrible work. You're doing average at best, below average. But you guys know you're supposed to be allergic to the average. Attaboy, attagirl, you can do it. You can do it. So average people don't look at this. The average person would never have thought about this. They thought the fact that they, everywhere they go, their work phone is on, or the fact that they even have a work phone, they seem important. They're always watching the phones at meetings and that kind of stuff. It's a lie, guys, and it's a shot to your self-esteem. If you need that to feel like you're important, really, you're not your first love. You need to do some soul searching. You need to do some reflection and meditation. I'm getting ready to get out of here. I just want to say thank you all for being on here. And please like the video, share the video, go back and watch it again, because I'm the type of person, I can watch movies that I've seen 1,000 times, the movies that I like, and I get something different out of it every time. Okay, when I get a chance and take time to watch a movie, okay, read books, hear different things, read the Bible, of course, and you get different things every time you read the same passage. Okay, that's because of the infinity, or the infinite knowledge and wisdom of the universe and of God. And so I want to invite you all to get a copy of And the Flint Flows with Milk and Honey. This is my most recent book, my 5th book. It's the first of this kind that I've ever done. It's a collection of biographies, 5 people who are successful, that I believe substantially successful, and from where I'm from, okay, or have been here long enough to be considered from here. And I'm doing it especially for the young people, putting it in all the schools, all the libraries here, but also people like myself who study success and achievement, who study so that we can, do things, hi Tiffany, that, we aspire to do by studying other people. That's one of the easiest ways to success. Find somebody who's doing what you're aspiring to do and study them, okay? Don't necessarily mimic everything they do, but you can take a lot of pages from their book. So, And the Flint Flows with Milk and Honey is success stories, amazing success stories of homegrown Albanians. I'm doing a book launch ribbon cutting. It's a closed ticketed event on Thursday, March 26th in Albany, Georgia. You can inbox me, if you can scroll on my feed, or you can inbox me for information on how to get in. I definitely want as many people there as possible. It's a closed event though, and a lot of the honorees, they have family and friends coming, as well as some city officials and things like that. But if you want to get in, let me know, and I can tell you how you can register to get in. It's going to be an exciting event. But that's my latest book. I also want to see you back here next Thursday and every 9:30 p.m. Eastern time for the weekly episode of You've Been Through Too Much to Be Average. Okay, hi Taria. You have been through too much to be average. You've gone through enough already, just because the challenges that life issues to you, and then especially more so than just regular life challenges. If you're on here, then if you're on this cast, this live cast, you're a part of my tribe. You hear my voice. You understand. You're connected by some way or another. So like this video, share this video with people you want to see learn and grow. You want to email people like I do, and that email is EMEL, Empower Minds, Elevate Lives. That's what I do. That's why I'm on here live every 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's why you catch me on here some weeks every day, because I get a nugget and I want to share it with you. Okay, but listen, you have to be your first love. Make yourself your first love, so that everything else you love will be elevated to a magnificent excellent, wonderful level because you are at your best. When you're at your best, listen, what is it? What is it? It says, I think, which president was it? It says a rising tide floats all boats, right? A rising tide floats all boats. But if you're, sinking and, falling off, okay, it's going to be a disservice for the people who depend on you, who really depend on you. So because people depend on you, okay, make sure that the first person who depends on you is you. All right. The podcast is doing great. I want you all to get on the podcast. And when you're in the gym, when you're walking, when you're exercising, you're folding laundry, you're using that net time, that no extra time. You don't have to sit somewhere and be alone. Just listen to the podcast while you're doing other things. Instead of listening to music all the time, instead of listening to garbage on TV, go to the podcast. My podcast is The Rare Podcast. It's an acronym, RARE. The Rare Podcast, The Rich and Rome Experience. Also go to my YouTube channel, Victoria Gatsby. Subscribe because I have new videos coming out. I have old videos in the archives, but I just want to continue empowering your minds, elevating your lives, because you've been through too much to be average. And I have lots of information to make sure that you never settle for average. You never go back to average, but you become first better than average. That's the book that I released before this. And then I want you to become allergic to the average. First, you go to being better than average, where you're above average, and then you go to the point where you never even want to be around average. You're allergic to the average. So attaboy, attagirl for being on here. I love you all. I enjoy this time together. Like the video, share the video, go back, watch it, study it, and do the directive. Make sure you write down 3 to 5 things that you can start on today, whenever you first see this video, on how you can return to making yourself your first love, so that all your other loves will be taken care of exceptionally well. Okay, it could be something physical that you've been neglecting about yourself, mental, spiritual, professionally, something that makes you feel less than. Okay, makes you behave, perform, be less than. You need to get it taken care of. 3 to 5 things, immediate, quantifiable, meaning you can measure it. All right. So if you have not been, you need a massage, you're tense, you say I need to get a massage at least every 2 weeks or every week, whatever. Okay. You eat every meal on the go. I need to sit down and eat at least 1 meal a day, spend at least 20 minutes letting my food digest, just resting, focusing on how the food tastes. As a matter of fact, it's a study that shows that because people eat in a rush, and because people eat when they're not mindful, okay, they eat and they're not mindful, okay, they're just eating to be eating. A lot of times they're not savoring the food, they're not realizing when they're full, they're not taking the time. People eat more, and that's one of the reasons for obesity in this country, is because people eat distracted eating, okay, eating on the run, eating when you're thinking about other things and not actually thinking about your food, not tasting your food. Hey, it's real. I know it because I've experienced it. All right. Listen, the average person wouldn't know that, but you've been through too much to be average. That's why you're on here. I love you. I'll see you all next week. If I don't find something else and I'm feeling a little nasally, drainage coming, it's been a crazy, icky day, but life is still great. We need those rainy days. I would rather it be cold and rainy than hot and rainy. There's many ways you can just be grateful for it. But nevertheless, I'll see you all next week, if not sooner. All right. And remember, you can learn your way out of every situation and onto any destination. Hey, Miss Donna, you're getting on here late. Go back and rewind it. Go back and watch it. But I love you, and I'll see you all next time.